And this is the second talk of this series where we talk about development. And before we dive into some React component, a few words about us. I'm Federica, a front-end engineer from Belka. I mainly develop mobile apps and I live near Turin with my bunny Maurice. And I'm here with my colleague Ben.
Hello everyone, I'm Benjamin and I live in Trento. I'm also a front-end engineer from Belka, specialized in web development.
Super. So let's view the agenda for today. We are going to see how composition and compound component helped us. And then we are going to explain what those patterns are. And of course, we are going to see some code. We are developers after all. And the end of this webinar is for you and for your questions. If you want to submit a question, you can press on the QA button on the Zoom menu. We are going to see a dialogue like this one. And here you can submit the questions and everyone can vote them. So write your questions inside this dialogue, not in the chat, because we are going to miss them. So, and then a quick reminder, the session is recorded. So you'll find both the live streaming and the slides in the next Belka newsletter. And we are also going to share with you inside the newsletter of the next week. We're going to share with you the repository that we made for today's webinar. So sign up if you haven't already. Elena just pasted the link in chat if you want. So before moving on, a few words about our company, Belka. Ambitious tech companies work with Belka when it comes to scale their product. And how do we do that? We are specialized in design system, UX research, product design, and of course, development with React and React Native. So Belka is a service firm specialized in design system. We help digital product companies to grow faster by embracing the design system philosophy. We believe that design systems are the core part of how front-end and interface building work together. That's why we strongly believe that design systems are the way to build digital product, and the companies that do so deliver and grow faster. So we work with a bunch of companies, and you may know some of them. So let's see some of those companies inside our portfolio. We collaborate with Factoring Cloud, the biggest invoicing billing service in Italy, with more than 500,000 clients in the country, and we are long partner with them. We collaborated on their design system, but the project that we are most proud of to share is their mobile app. For Indigo, we built both the onboarding and their top initiative of 2024 called Indie, using the design system that we made. Design system allowed us to focus on the logic part instead of the components. And without a design system, we couldn't have done it in such a short time. NEN is the most innovative utility company in Italy. We helped them with the migration of their design system from Sketch to Figma, and with the refactor of several funnels by using the new design system that we built for them. If you're curious to see how a component from the NEN design system is made, you can check our last webinar. Serena, if you please just pass the link in chat. And yeah, I think that I've bragged enough about Belka, so I leave the word to Ben.
Thanks, Fede. Great introduction.
Thank you.
So let's start with a sort of story. Imagine you've been working on a React project for a while, but you are starting to encounter some problems.
Oh no.
Building components has become more difficult and time-consuming. Your files are cluttered with numerous props and if statements. And when a designer requests changes, it feels overwhelming. Don't worry, you are not alone. In Belka, we had the same problems, and this webinar is to help you. Composition and compound pattern can help you. We will discuss the main advantages that these patterns have brought to our development process. These benefits have significantly improved the way we build and maintain applications.
About that, I have a question for the people in the chat. Yeah, have you ever heard about those patterns before? Have you ever heard about composition or compound patterns? Let us know by writing your answer in the chat. We are waiting for your answer. Have you ever heard about those? Maybe, maybe not. We'll never know, probably.
Okay.
Oh, we have an answer. Don't think I've heard about compound patterns before. Okay, I think that you are in the right place.
Yeah.
So Ben, if you would like to.
Let's go.
Yay.
As you know, scalability is crucial as applications grow in size and complexity. By using these patterns, we can easily add new features and components without disrupting the existing code base. Each component operates independently, allowing us to scale our application easily. Now, let's dive. Oh, I forgot that slide. Sorry.
Oh no.
Flexibility is another significant advantage. As requirements change, having a code base that's built on these patterns allows us to do that quickly. We can easily swap out components, modify their behavior, or extend their functionality without major rewrites. Now, let's dive into some specific advantages we found in our projects by adopting these patterns. The first one is reduced prop drilling. Exporting components individually enables each component to manage its own props, thereby eliminating the necessity of passing props through multiple layers.
Yeah, about that, Chad,
Sure.
do you have a lot of props inside your projects? Are you encountering this problem, like when you have a component and a long list of props is not like a good way to see, like it can be very messy with a lot of props. So, oh yes, we have a yes. Yeah, I think that it's a common problem. What do you think about it? We're going to wait like a few answers. I'm curious to know if you are encountering the same problem like us. We have another answer. Yes, it can be. Okay. So Ben, I'll let you continue with your list. Yeah.
Another advantage is explicit control. Each component can be directly included or excluded in the parent component, removing the need for internal conditional logic to handle different styles or behaviors. Another advantage is when design requirements arise, and this happens a lot, such as positioning an icon on the left instead of the right, we can simply rearrange our composed components without requiring additional props or complex logic. This approach also offers a clear outline of the expected child components and their relationship to the parent component. Now we will be diving into the concept of component composition and compound pattern in React. These two patterns are fundamental concepts in modern React development. So, what is component composition?
Yeah, I'm going to ask this question to the chat. Like, do you know what a composition is? A component composition is? I think that it's mentioned inside the React documentation. Am I right, Ben?
Probably. You can find it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm pretty sure about it. So if someone wants to answer this question, like, do you...
Still in the old
Mm.
React documentation.
Okay, so we have an answer. Don't know the difference between component and composition.
Component and composition? Okay.
Yeah. I think that this is a good question to ask at the end of this webinar. So feel free to write it inside the QA section, Carmen. We are going to answer to this question. Okay.
Okay.
So yeah.
So let's see together what it is and how we can apply this pattern in React. In software development, we often encounter complex problems. And the best way to tackle these problems is by breaking them down into smaller and more manageable pieces. This approach not only makes the development process simpler, but also ensures that our code is more maintainable and scalable. In the context of React, the smaller pieces are the components. By isolating different parts of the UI into separate components, we can focus on building and maintaining on each piece independently. By composing these components together, we can create complex UIs efficiently. Let's take a look at this layout component. This component is a perfect example of the composition pattern in React. Even though it's a simple component, it demonstrates how we can apply the composition pattern by assembling several smaller components. In this example, our layout component is composed of smaller components. Notice how we placed our components outside of the main content. This allows us to keep our layout structure clear and manageable.
Wow, Ben, this is like a really cool animation.
Yeah, I pretended to be a designer.
Okay.
A bit.
It's good.
After creating these smaller components, we use them to compose the layout of our application. By structuring our UI this way, each component can be independently developed. This separation of concerns results in clearer and more maintainable code. And here we can see how the components work together within the layout component. The layouts become flexible and easy to change since each part is self-contained. Here is another example showing how we can reuse the same components we made before to create another layout. This highlights the power of composition. By combining different smaller pieces, we can form various layouts that suit different use cases, all while maintaining a consistent structure and style. And does this idea of building complex structure from smaller usable pieces remind you of anything familiar? Maybe, Pede, do you know the answer?
Like I have a few ideas, but I let the chat answer first. So does this idea of building complex structure, for smaller usable pieces, maybe like made of plastic and that comes from Denmark?
Yeah, you are right, Fede.
Yay!
It's just like building with Lego bricks. Just as Lego bricks can be assembled in countless ways to create different structures, components can be combined and recombined to build various user interfaces.
So like basically our React projects are Lego ones.
Yeah, kinda, but without the instructions.
Yeah, seems fair.
Yeah. So in the previous slides, we discussed the concept of composition in React. Now let's turn our attention to the compound pattern. We'll dive into what it is and how you can use it in your application. In the compound pattern, the idea is to have multiple interrelated components that work all together as a single entity. This allows us to create richer, more complex components while maintaining a separation of concerns. To better understand compound components, let's first take a look at something familiar from HTML. The native select element is a great example of compound structure. It uses multiple option elements together to provide a list for the user to select from. Here you can see the HTML code for a select element with 3 options. These options elements work together within the select element to present a drop-down menu to the user. The select element itself it's just a container for the options. It doesn't provide any specific functionality without the option elements inside of it. And each option element adds an item to the drop-down list. The select component relies on these options to provide the user with choices. And when combined, the select and option elements work together as a single entity to create fully functional drop-down menu.
Yeah, so good old times when we learn how to make select on plain HTML just with colors inside. Now it's not like it's not this easy.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
And now we can move to something more practical. Check out VS Code and see how to apply these patterns and how we use them in our projects.
So like our favorite part, we are going to see some code.
Yeah. For this part, I will continue to be a front-end engineer, while Fede will switch her role to a designer.
Yes, I'm going to be a designer from now on.
Yeah. We have prepared, as Federica said before, a repository that includes some components inspired by those we have implemented in our projects. First, let me quickly show you the project setup so you have an idea of what we are working on. So here on the right, you can see Storybook. It was set up to help us visualize and test our components in isolation. Then we decided to use Radix UI. That's a headless library, meaning it provides unstyled components with a built-in business logic, giving us flexibility to style them as we need. This library also offers a great feature for composition. That's the schild prop and slot component that merge its prop onto its immediate child. This will help us with composition. And the last is Tailwind CSS that was integrated for a quick and efficient styling with utility class.
Yeah, we are very big fan about Tailwind and Storybook.
Yeah, we use them in all our projects.
Yes.
Of course, we are going to start with a button component, a tutorial cliche, but a useful one in order to start applying the patterns we talked before. We made our button from Figma, and here is the code. In this example, we have the button component, which is designed to be both simple and flexible. Depending on whether the child prop, this one, is passed, the button element will render either a slot or as a button. This offers great flexibility as it allows the button to adopt the behavior and styles of another component if required. A great example is the link, because a lot of time it's a common use case for this rendering a link that is styled like a button. As you can see here, this is like a button, but under the hood, this is a link with, as you can see here, the prop graph. Another thing to focus on this component is the children prop, because it makes the component very flexible. By passing any content as children, you can easily customize what appears inside the button. So we think that we are done with this button, but suddenly we receive a new comment from the designer.
That's me, I'm the designer. So, Ben, could you add an icon on the right,
Yeah,
please?
sure, we can. The children prop makes this component very flexible, as I said before. We just need to import the icon and put it inside our button. So let's try. Here is the default story. Let's copy it. We just need to add our icon plus icon. We use the here icons, but you can use any icon pack you prefer. Let's name it right icon. And here we are. We have our button with
Wow.
right icon, and it works without touching the code of the button itself.
Okay, but I have another request. Could you add an icon on the left?
Yeah, we can do also
Perfect.
this. As before, adding another icon is an easy task. We just need to add an icon component on the left. For example, we can call it left icon. Move the icon on the left of the main children. And here we go. We have our button with the left and or right button icons.
So perfect. But yeah, we decided to add a badge with a number inside the button. Could you add it?
Sure, we can add it. I bet you already know what we are going to do. We just need to import our badge component and use it inside of our button. So for example, let's with badge, remove the icon. We have our badge component we made before. We can add some numbers. And here we have our button with the badge. As you can imagine, we can also add other icons, and it works perfectly.
Wonderful.
As you can see, with this approach, it's easier to manage changes. Your components stay organized and didn't take too much effort. Of course, you could use props like left icon, right icon, or badge to enforce the layout of the button. But in our experience, this composition pattern worked best, and in our opinion, it's more flexible.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
So we finished with this button, but what about more complex components? Let's see how we can exploit this pattern on a dialog component. Here we go. Let's close this.
Oh, that's a lot of code.
Yeah. In this example, we have the dialog component along with various subcomponents like the dialog trigger, dialog content, or the header. All these components are based on Radix dialog that offers all the business logic that we need to build our dialog. As Federica said, it's a lot of code. At first impression, it's very messy, but it's easy to work with. This pattern enables us to compose complex dialogues efficiently. We can easily switch components based on the use case, whether it's a simple model or a more intricate design involving multiple elements and interactions. For example, if you see oh no, I touched something. For example, the dialog footer is just a footer component with some style. The same is for the body. Let's unfold this. and they are a one-on-one match with the DOM. So this dialog here on the right, we have a default dialog. It's a basic one. Here is the trigger. Now we show you the code, how to use it. We have the main dialog that provides the context for the dialog. A dialog trigger that wraps the element that should open or close the dialog. In this case, we have the button we used before. And here we have other small components that are used to create our dialog itself. And here you can see the result. We have our dialog with a title, a description, and 2 main actions.
So this one is basically like a really classic dialogue.
Yeah, this is the simplest you could create, I think.
Yes, but as a designer, you know, I made some changes and we made another dialogue.
Oh no.
And yeah, sorry about that. So this dialogue is going to have an image above the title. Could you add it, please?
Okay, yeah, sure, we can add it. As you can imagine, with this structure, you can just, let's start, create our dialog. So call it with image. We just need to add an img component here. Let's start source, and now it will be image. Let's get a link. Okay, we can use this one.
Like a placeholder, right?
Yeah, it's just a placeholder. Last name. Here we can add some styles. For example, this one. Object cover. And here we have our component, our dialog with an image above. Maybe you could think that writing this code every time with styles, it's not a good practice, and you're right. Usually when we notice that a component is used a lot, for example, we can imagine that in our app we have a lot of dialogues with an image above. We can just create another small component for this dialog. We have already prepared one. Here, as you can see, it's very simple component. It's just an image tag with some styles, the one I applied before. And we have the image component that is reusable. And let's copy this. You have not to write it every time from scratch. Here we go.
That's beautiful, Ben. But as you can imagine, we have another dialogue. So yeah, this one is going to be a login form with 2 inputs and 2 buttons with a full width.
Okay, I think we can manage that. So let's start with our base dialog. So let's copy that. Call it login dialog. Okay, and we can start. So you said a login form with 2 actions on the bottom.
Yes, 2 inputs, one for the email and one for the password, and then 2 action button.
As before, we created a component called the dialog body that has some pre-configured style. And here we can add our.
Are you cheating with Compiler?
Oh yeah, I'm using it every day. It's very useful. Email, placeholder, for example, enter email. Oh no, required. Let's copy this for password. Placeholder and the password. And I think we have, okay, the first two inputs. We can also add the type to be more correct. Password.
I am marrying you because you are not afraid to write code in public, you know. I had
Yeah.
to copy paste the code because I forgot like instantly how to write on the
Probably
keyboard.
I'm
So
going to forget
kudos to
something,
you.
but we can try. So this is a form, so we need to wrap our component with a form. Not here. Let's put it here. And as I said before, Radix provides an as-child prop that we can use to emulate that the dialog content is a form. So all the props, for example, the overlay, the style will be passed to the form, and we have our form. I can handle the on submit. For now, we just prevent. And here you said 2 actions. Okay, so for example, continue. Let's move this. Oh no, let's like this. So this sign up. Continue. Let's add the type of submit. And here we have our form, but you said that you want the action to be full width and in column. The easiest thing is to add here a class name, for example, flex call.
So those are Tailwind classes, right?
Yeah, these are all Tailwind classes. We can do that. But as before, if you notice that something is used a lot in your application, you can add, for example, just a simple prop. Here we added the orientation prop that switches the style from vertical to horizontal. And we just add it. Orientation, vertical. And here we have our dialog with full width buttons. As you can see in, I don't know, I think 10 minutes, we built 3 components, 3 dialogues that are completely different from each other. And
But we
this
didn't.
would be more difficult if you have a monolithic dialogue with a lot of props. You have to go inside the dialogue, change all the structure, I'll add a lot of if statements to move components, and that's it.
Yeah, we basically didn't touch the original components, but we just used those parts to make other cases.
Yeah, that's true. If you notice, for example, that a dialogue, like the login dialogue, is used in multiple places, the thing that we usually do is to create a wrapped pre-configured dialogue. For example, a login dialogue as a separate component, all configured with all these styles, and then you can use it in your application as you want.
Super. I don't have other requests as a designer.
Yeah, so we finished finally. We finished with our dialogues and buttons. Okay. So as we've seen through this example, these patterns in React allows us to build flexible and reusable components that can easily adapt to changing requirements. And by embracing these patterns, we can build UIs that are easy to manage, extend, and adapt to new requirements, ensuring our projects remain scalable and maintainable.
Super. So thank you, Ben, for sharing your knowledge with us.
You're welcome.
So a few words about the sponsor of this webinar, which is our new service. This is our audit service. So it's called Design System Checkup. And if you feel that your design system isn't in the best shape, you may not be wrong. And this service can help you to know the state of your design system. So those are the issues that we see the most, like trouble getting started, or if you don't know the answer to the question, who is in charge of the design system? We can also help you with the adoption problems inside the team. So feel free to reach out if you are encountering those issues. We've already helped a bunch of companies, as you can see. And you can read more about the service on this webpage. Serena already added the link inside the chat. So you will receive the slides, the streaming, and also the repository that Ben showed us in today's webinar. And yeah, we are also announcing the next webinar that will be in Italian. And the title is What's the Recipe for a Successful End-Off? We're going to talk about successful end-off and how to make the best recipe of it. And yeah, this is the time of your question. If you have some, you can write them inside the Q&A section. I think that we can start from the thing that Carmen said before, like while we are waiting for your questions, if you have some inside the Q&A panel. So Carmen asked us, what's the difference between component and composition?
Component is, as you said, the component you build in React or in other languages, for example, I don't know, Svelte or other frameworks. And composition is more about a pattern that is used to create our components, and it's how you structure them to build more complex UIs and interfaces.
Yeah, so basically like the component is the thing that compose interfaces, and like the composition is the method that you can use.
Yeah, it's just like a set of rules, if you can say that, to follow to build your components.
Okay, so, Carmen said thanks. You're welcome.
You're welcome.
So we are waiting for your, we have a question. So Maria asked us, do you have suggestions on how to keep components relatively flexible while disallowing certain components for being nested? So no nesting interactive elements like buttons and links.
Let me just read a little bit the question. Yeah. So, Maria, you mean you want to disallow the use of some components inside other components? Am I right? Okay. You mean, for example, if you, I don't know, create a dialog header and you don't want to use it, I don't know, in the layout page? Maria?
Yeah, maybe.
Because I'm not sure how to achieve this, because if it, okay, it could be. I think you can do, for example, in the dialog example will be use context API. Okay, you could use React context API and force to use the childs, so the consumers of the context, throwing an error to the developer and showing how to saying that you don't have to use this component in that context, but it should be used under the dialog. I think I have an example. Let me just see. That's this guy. Wait, okay. Here I have an example of the button. For example, I created a specific component called button badge that uses some props and the context of the button. As you see here, I created the context. Here I created a hook that used that context, and here I wrapped the component. And the thing that we usually do, it's just to, let's say, create something like this. Oh, error return. So context, context, and if not throw error. So basically, let's say error. Here, if you try to use the button badge, that is a specific component used just for the button. If you try to use it outside, the context will be undefined and an error will be thrown where you can use, for example, button badge will be used inside button. Thank you again, Copilot.
Very useful for those situations, for typos.
I hope that I answered your question.
Yeah, I think that was, oh, she said, oh, are you reading the chat, Ben?
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
reading the chat.
Okay.
Yeah, this is a pattern that is used under the hood by Radix and other famous headless UI frameworks. And I think it's very useful to enforce a component to be used inside of another component.
Yeah, it can be very, very helpful. So do you have other questions for us? Oh, we have another one. Oh, Carmen is asking us if we are going to have job positions open in Belka. I'm not sure about this, Carmen, honestly. I don't think that we are going to open other job positions soon, honestly. Not at the moment. So yeah, but yeah, if we are going to open some job positions, yeah, we are going to post like everywhere on LinkedIn. So I think that you'll notice. And if you want to, yeah, you can like sign up into our newsletter, and on the newsletter we are going to post if we open some job positions. So you are going to be notified. Okay. Good question though. Thank you. So we have another question from Anonymous. Do you have any advice on how to style the component?
That's a good
Yeah.
question.
Yeah,
It's quite
we
a
can
difficult question because there are a lot of solution for this. The one that we use a lot and it's because we are very happy with that. It's with Tailwind and CVA. let me show you, for example, the styles for a button. You might not like Tailwind, but this is how we do it. So, for example, here thank you, Fede.
You're welcome.
Here you define the base styles of the component. Here you can add all the variants you want to add for that component. In this case, for the button, we added just the size and the variant, but you can add more, and there are other features, but we'll talk about it now. And here you can use very simple, it's a one-line custom CSS for the button. So yeah, my advice for styling components is to use Tailwind and some libraries to help you to build all the styles together.
Yeah, CBA is also very useful if you need to build design system, right, Ben?
Yeah, it's very
Yeah,
useful
we
because
use it.
it's very easy to manage all variants, but also here there are other frameworks and libraries to do that, but it's up to you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so if you have some questions, feel free to write them inside the Q&A section. And I also have a question for you, chat. Do you have some arguments or some topics that like we can maybe make a webinar about? Because we are trying to make more developer webinar. So if you have some topic that you are interested in, we can cover them with a webinar. So yeah, do you have some topic suggestions for us for future webinars? Or maybe like some problems that you're dealing with in your projects and you need help with that? Or yeah, if you don't, like you can also reach us like on LinkedIn if you don't have now the answer to this question. Oh, okay. We have a suggestion for a future topic, how to increase adoption. This is a really interesting topic.
Yeah.
We can definitely talk about it. Yeah, I think that you can read about adoption inside our website. Two of our colleagues, Sara and Sole, are going to... Oh, thank you, Serena. You can read more about adoption in the article that we made to the blog post, but we can definitely make a webinar about that. Oh, we also have a YouTube video. Top. Super, Serena. Thank you. You're welcome, Carmen. Okay, so we are still waiting for a question if you have some. Or we... Okay. I'm going to take a note about the adoption within the development team. Okay. Okay, so if there aren't other questions, I think that we can wrap up and see everyone to the next webinar.